groundbreaking decision that has sent shockwaves across Africa, Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera has joined the ranks of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger in a decisive move to ban the export of minerals from his country. The Malawian government has frozen exports of gemstones and other precious minerals and halted the issuance of new mineral export licenses. This drastic action is part of a broader effort to reform the mining sector, ensuring that Malawi gains full control over its vast mineral wealth, rather than allowing foreign corporations to reap disproportionate benefits. The southern African nation is endowed with significant mineral deposits including uranium, rubies and sapphires. However, unlike its neighbours, Malawi has yet to fully capitalize on these resources for national development. Mining Minister Joseph Makandawire, in a strongly worded statement on Facebook, justified the export ban, stating, "This measure has been taken in order to sanitize the mining sector as the ministry undertakes reforms to bring efficiency and transparency in mineral rights administration." The ban takes effect immediately and will remain in place until further notice, the Ministry of Mining confirmed in an official statement. One might ask, what has triggered this sudden policy shift? Are African leaders finally drawing inspiration from Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, countries that have recently taken a stand against foreign exploitation of their natural wealth? To answer these critical questions, we must analyze the recent developments in these nations and how Malawi's decision fits into this broader movement. Malawi's ban follows a directive from Vice President who ordered a 21-day review of all existing mining contracts. This move is part of a larger trend, in which African nations are reassessing deals that have historically favoured multinational corporations at the expense of local economies. The Malawian government has also been engaged in a high-stakes battle with Columbia Gem House, a US-based gemstone company, over unpaid taxes and royalties. Since mid-2022, the government has demanded more than $309 billion from the company for rubies extracted over the past decade. The allegations are damning. Nyala Mines Limited, a Columbia Gem House subsidiary, reportedly paid a mere $600 in taxes despite generating an estimated $4 billion in revenue from Malawian rubies. To put this into perspective, the amount claimed from Columbia Gem House is nearly 30 times Malawi's annual GDP, according to the International Monetary Fund, IMF. This is a glaring example of how foreign corporations have been enriching themselves while leaving Malawians in poverty. Honestly, when I learnt this, I become sad and very angry. This is a crucial moment for the nation. With nearly 75% of its 24 million citizens living in extreme poverty, Malawi cannot afford to continue exporting its resources for a pittance while its people struggle to survive. The decision to freeze mineral exports is not just an economic measure. It is an assertion of sovereignty. Malawi's move mirrors the revolutionary policies adopted by Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali, where new leadership has taken aggressive steps to regain control over their natural wealth. A particularly striking example is Niger, where the new military leadership under General Abdurrahmane Chiani ousted the previous regime after discovering how the West had been plundering its resources. Documents have surfaced revealing that Niger's former government signed contracts granting only 5% royalties on uranium sales, an outrageously low figure for one of the world's largest uranium producers. In a now famous video, the late Wagner PMC leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, exposed how French companies were selling Nigerian uranium for $200 per kilogram, while Niger itself was receiving a mere 0.80 mol per kilogram. To put this into perspective, Canada sells its uranium for the full market price, yet Niger's wealth was essentially being stolen, with the country receiving only a fraction of its true value. This is not just exploitation, it is outright economic warfare. For those who may not understand the significance of what Malawi is doing, it is important to draw historical parallels. The decision by Niger's junta, and now Malawi's government, follows a path once taken by Libya's Muammar Gaddafi, who sought to unite Africa under a self-sufficient economic system independent of Western exploitation. We all saw how the West responded to Gaddafi's ambitions, with military intervention and regime change. The question now is, will other African leaders follow Malawi's example? Or will external forces attempt to pressure Chakwera's administration into reversing this decision? History has shown that when African nations take bold steps to reclaim their resources, they often face intense economic, political, and even military pushback from global powers that benefit from the status quo. President Chakwera's decision is more than just an economic policy. It is a revolutionary act that challenges the long-standing exploitation of African resources by foreign corporations. By taking control of its mineral wealth, Malawi has positioned itself as a leader in the growing movement of African nations demanding economic justice. If this trend continues, we could be witnessing the dawn of a new era where African countries dictate the terms of their own economic destiny, rather than being at the mercy of external powers. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether Malawi's bold stance will hold firm or be met with resistance. The question remains, is this the moment Africa finally reclaims its wealth? Africa, the cradle of humanity, the mother of civilizations, has long been a paradox, a land of unfathomable wealth shackled by the chains of exploitation. Her children reduced to beggars on a continent paved with gold, uranium, and diamonds. For centuries, the scavengers of empire, European colonial powers, and their modern corporate successors have sunk their claws into our soil, extracting our treasures while leaving us with crumbs, with debt, with despair. Burkina Faso, the land of upright people, has been no exception. Her vast mineral wealth, gold, manganese, zinc, lay like a glittering prize beneath her red earth. Yet for too long, it was not her people who prospered, but foreign hands that plundered. That is, until a son of the soil, a young warrior named Captain Ibrahim Traoré, rose from the ranks of the dispossessed to declare, with the roar of a lion, "No more." Today, as the sun rises over Ouagadougou on this 27th day of February 2025, we stand witness to a revolution, not just of arms, but of spirit, of sovereignty, of destiny. Traoré has wrested control of Burkina Faso's minerals from the jaws of neo-colonialism, and in doing so, he has not only changed Burkina Faso, but lit a torch for the Pan-African dream. To understand the magnitude of Traoré's triumph, we must first peel back the layers of history, that bitter tapestry woven with the threads of conquest and betrayal. Burkina Faso, once upper Volta under the French tricolour, was never meant to thrive. The colonial blueprint was clear: extract, exploit, and export. Gold, the lifeblood of empires, flowed from the Sahel's veins into Parisian coffers, while the Burkinabe were left to toil in the shadows of their own abundance. Independence in 1960 was a hollow gift, a flag without power, a freedom tethered to economic servitude. The multinationals came, French, Canadian, Australian, bearing promises of development but delivering only dust. By the dawn of the 21st century, Burkina Faso had become Africa's fourth largest gold producer. Yet her people languished in poverty, her infrastructure crumbled, and her children went hungry. The mines, operated by giants like Endeavour Mining and I Am Gold, were enclaves of foreign dominion, their profits spirited away to Toronto and London, leaving Ouagadougou with a pittance in taxes and a legacy of environmental ruin. This was the Burkina Faso that Traoré inherited, a nation bleeding from a wound inflicted by centuries of theft, exacerbated by a jihadist insurgency that foreign powers conveniently used as an excuse to tighten their grip. French troops, ostensibly there to fight terrorism, lingered like vultures, their presence a reminder of colonial oversight. The government of Roch-Marc Christian Kabore, and later the junta of Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, danced to the tune of Western puppeteers, signing lopsided contracts that favoured foreign firms and neglecting the cries of a people yearning for justice. But the spirit of Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary martyr, never died. It simmered in the hearts of the upright, waiting for a champion to rise. That champion arrived in September 2022, when Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a mere 34 years old, led a coup that toppled Damiba and declared war on the plunderers of his homeland. Traoré's ascent was no mere power grab. It was a clarion call to reclaim what was rightfully Burkina Faso's. A military officer forged in the crucible of insurgency, he had seen the truth firsthand. Soldiers dying for lack of equipment while foreign coups toasted to billion-dollar profits in boardrooms far removed from the Sahel's dust. His disillusionment with a corrupt elite and their foreign masters birthed a vision as bold as it was radical, to take back Burkina Faso's minerals, to mine them for the people, to break the chains of dependency. "We know how to mine our gold," he thundered in October 2024, his voice reverberating across the continent. "I don't understand why we're going to let multinationals come and mine it." The first strike was swift and surgical. Traoré issued an ultimatum to foreign mining companies: renegotiate or leave. Licenses were revoked, permits withdrawn, and the message was clear: Burkina Faso would no longer be a playground for profiteers. In July 2024, he took it further, announcing that mining permits would be stripped from countries refusing to sell military equipment to Burkina Faso, a direct jab at Western powers like France, who had blocked arms sales while happily extracting gold. The poorer gold deposit, previously handed to a foreign operator, was seized back by the state, a symbolic victory that echoed Sankara's cry for self-reliance. By November 2023, the Council of Ministers approved the construction of Burkina Faso's first gold refinery, a monumental step toward processing the nation's wealth domestically rather than exporting raw ore to be refined abroad. "We will exploit them ourselves," Traoré vowed, and the people cheered, some waving Russian flags, not as a sign of new masters, but as a symbol of defiance against the old ones. This was not just rhetoric, it was action. Traoré's government moved to nationalize key mining operations, redirecting revenues from foreign shareholders to the Burkinabe treasury. Gold exports, once a lifeline for multinationals, were banned in July 2024, ensuring that every ounce stayed within Burkina Faso's borders until it could be processed and sold on the nation's terms. The results were astounding. By late 2024, Burkina Faso cleared its staggering $4.7 billion of external debt, a burden that had crippled generations. Gold revenues now flowing into state coffers funded ambitious projects, schools, hospitals, roads, while the junta cracked down on corruption with a ferocity that left no room for compromise. Traoré's message was simple yet profound. Burkina Faso's minerals belong to Burkina Faso. The impact of Traoré's mineral reclamation has been nothing short of transformative, a seismic shift that has redefined Burkina Faso's place in the world. Economically, the numbers speak for themselves. Cereal production hit a record 6 million tons in 2024, bolstered by state investments in agriculture funded by mining profits. The nation's GDP, projected to grow by 3.7% in 2024, reflects a burgeoning economy no longer beholden to foreign whims. The opening of Burkina Faso's first state bank in August 2024, marked another milestone, a financial institution designed to channel mineral wealth into development, not debt repayment. "This bank is a symbol of our economic sovereignty," Traoré declared, and the people believed him, for they saw the fruits of his labour in their daily lives. Socially, Burkina Faso is awakening. The expulsion of French forces in February 2023, followed by the rejection of French as an official language and the banning of colonial-era judicial wigs in January 2025, signalled a cultural renaissance. Traoré's junta has doubled military spending, equipping soldiers to reclaim territory from jihadists, while recruiting 50,000 volunteers into the Volunteers for the Defence of the Homeland, VDP militia. The gold-rich regions, once overrun by rebels, are being wrested back, village by village, mine by mine. For the first time in decades, Burkinabe children see a future where their nation's wealth serves them, not distant shareholders. Corruption, that festering sore of post-colonial Africa, is being cauterized. Officials tremble under Traoré's iron gaze, knowing that the days of suitcases of money are over. Internationally, Burkina Faso's star is rising. Traoré's forging of ties with Russia and Turkey, his support for a federation with Mali and Niger under the alliance of Sahel states, and his receipt of the BRICS medal in 2023 position him as a leader not just of a nation, but of a movement. The West watches in dismay as its stranglehold weakens. while Africa watches in awe as a young captain dares to dream of a continent free from beggary. How can Africa, with so much wealth, become the poorest continent in the world? He asked at the Russia-Africa Summit in 2023. His answer lies in action, not words. Burkina Faso is no longer begging, it is building. Traoré's revolution is more than a Burkinabe story. It is a Pan-African clarion call. Across the Sahel, where juntas in Mali and Niger echo his defiance, a new wind blows, one of sovereignty, of solidarity, of self-determination. The Alliance of Sahel States, formalized in July 2024, is a confederation born of necessity and audacity, a bulwark against imperialism that could reshape West Africa. Burkina Faso's mineral reclamation is a blueprint for others. Zimbabwe with its lithium, Zambia with its copper, Ghana with its gold. If Traoré can do it, why not them? Why not us all? Yet challenges remain. The jihadist threat looms, a shadow cast by years of neglect and foreign meddling. Critics whisper that Traoré's nationalist fervour risks isolating Burkina Faso, that his hardline tactics, dissolving the government in December 2024, extending his mandate in May 2024, smack of authoritarianism. But to the Pan-Africanist eye, these are the birth pangs of a new order. Traoré is no saint. He is a soldier, a pragmatist, a man who knows that freedom is not won with pleas but with power. His alliance with Russia, his flirtation with Wagner mercenaries may raise eyebrows, but they are means to an end, a sovereign end. As I say this, I see Sankara's ghost smiling over Ouagadougou, his spirit alive in Traoré's every step. Burkina Faso has changed because one man dared to say, enough. Her minerals, once a curse, are now a blessing. Her people, once bowed, now stand upright. And her future, once stolen, is hers to shape. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is not just a leader. He is a symbol, a lion roaring for a continent too long silenced. Let the imperialists tremble, let the multinationals flee, for the upright people have risen, and their wealth will never again be plundered. This is Burkina Faso reborn, and through her, Africa reimagined. The revolution is here, brothers and sisters, and it is ours to claim. As a Pan-African journalist, it fills me with pride and hope to witness the winds of change sweeping across our beloved continent. The recent decision by Malawi to ban the export of its minerals, gemstones, uranium, rubies and sapphires echoes a bold and revolutionary stance already taken by Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. This growing movement is not just a policy shift. It is a clarion call for African sovereignty, a rejection of the colonial plunder that has bled our lands dry for centuries, and a resolute step towards self-determination. The time has come for African leaders to heed this call, to follow the courageous examples of these nations, and to end the corrupt practices that have enriched foreign powers and their local collaborators while leaving our people in abject poverty. Let me take you through this seismic shift, its implications, and why every African leader must rise to this occasion. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, nations in the Sahel region, have also taken decisive steps to reclaim their mineral wealth. Since 2020, these countries have experienced military takeovers driven by a rejection of neo-colonial exploitation and a desire to redirect their resources, gold, uranium and more, for the benefit of their people. Niger, for instance, imposed a moratorium on all state export contracts in 2023, following its coup, with the junta vowing to review agreements to ensure commercial fairness tied to international market prices. Mali and Burkina Faso have similarly moved to renegotiate mining deals, expelling Western companies and pivoting toward partners like Russia, which offer military support in exchange for access to resources. These nations, forming the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, have even withdrawn from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, accusing it of serving Western interests over African ones. Their export bans and contract audits are not mere economic policies. They are acts of defiance against a global system that has pillaged Africa's riches while leaving its populations destitute. Malawi's alignment with this trend is a beacon of hope for the continent. Africa holds 30% of the world's mineral reserves, cobalt in the Democratic Republic of Congo, lithium in Zimbabwe, manganese in South Africa, and rare earth elements across the continent. Yet we remain the poorest region globally. The green energy transition has only intensified the demand for these transitional minerals, with electric vehicles requiring 6 times more rare earths than conventional cars and wind plants needing 9 times more materials than gas facilities. Between 2017 and 2022, global demand for lithium tripled, yet Africa reaps little of the value. Why? Because for too long, corrupt African leaders have sold our birthright for a pittance, signing lopsided contracts with foreign corporations that extract raw materials, process them abroad, and return finished goods at exorbitant prices, all while our people toil in poverty. The corruption of African leaders has been the handmaiden of this exploitation. Across the continent, from Nigeria's oil fields to Zambia's copper mines, leaders have colluded with multinational corporations, pocketing bribes and kickbacks while signing away mineral rights for fractions of their worth. In Niger, France secured uranium at a fraction of its market value, powering its nuclear plants while Nigerians lived without electricity. In Malawi, the government has demanded $309 billion from Columbia Gem House, a US-based firm, for unpaid taxes and royalties on ruby exports, a staggering sum that underscores decades of theft facilitated by complicit officials. This resource curse has seen our wealth fuel the development of the global north while our children go hungry, our schools crumble, and our hospitals lack medicine. Leaders have prioritized personal gain over public good, turning a blind eye to environmental degradation, human rights abuses, and the suffering of their own people. Why then should African leaders follow the likes of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and now Malawi? Because these nations are charting a path to redemption and empowerment. By banning raw mineral exports, they are forcing foreign investors to build processing plants on African soil, creating jobs and retaining value within the continent. African leaders must follow this path because the alternative, continued exploitation, is a betrayal of our ancestors and our children. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and now Malawi are lighting the way, proving that Africa can rise from the ashes of colonialism and corruption. It is time to end the era of leaders who sell our minerals for trinkets, who dine with neo-colonial masters while their people starve. Let us build an Africa where our wealth serves our people, where our minerals power our development, and where our sovereignty is non-negotiable. The revolution has begun. Let every leader join it, or be left behind by a continent awakening to its true power. Brothers and sisters, let there be no doubt. This is the hour of reckoning. From the uranium-rich sands of Niger to the gem-laden hills of Malawi, a Pan-African storm is brewing, and it will not be silenced. President Lazarus Chakwera's ironclad ban on mineral exports, standing shoulder to shoulder with the defiant warriors of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, is more than a policy. It's a battle cry for liberation. No longer will our wealth be pillaged, our people starved, and our dignity trampled under the boots of foreign profiteers. The evidence is undeniable. $24 billion in rubies swapped for a measly $600. Uranium sold for pennies while the West feasts. Enough is enough. Malawi's rise, fueled by this revolution, is a beacon to every African nation. Seize your birthright, harness your treasures, and build a future where our children thrive, not beg. Let every leader hear this. The flames of resistance are spreading, and those who fail to join this righteous march will be left in the ashes of history. This is our moment. Africa's redemption begins today, and we will not relent until victory is ours.